Hey everyone, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up before you start watching this video that basically everyone who could, or everything that could make a loud obtrusive noise within like 5 feet of my house did so yesterday and today while filming, and I don't know how much of it got picked up by the mic. I'll find that out when I review the footage. But I just kind of wanted to warn you all ahead of time that the sound on this one might not be great. I have construction happening literally right outside my apartment. It's happening right now. At one point, like right when I started filming, my upstairs neighbors started to have a fight. It's been a wild couple of days. Like I can literally hear it right now. I don't know if you can hear it. Anyway, hopefully it's not too bad. Maybe no one would have noticed if I hadn't said anything, but I would have noticed, so hence the heads up. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Nope. Nope. Oh, hey everyone. How's it going today? Oh, me? Oh, great. Everything's just great and fine and so great. Great. I said great too many times, didn't I? No, I'm not experiencing jealousy. That's absurd. I am beyond such things. I'm above it, over it even. I'm glad my partner is with another person. Glad. Everything is in line with our agreements. It's all in the up and up. Everything is fine. I am fine. See? Fine. I am chock full of compersion right now. You know the feeling of being happy seeing your partner with another partner? That's the feeling of squiggly little red hot eels swimming around my stomach right now. Compersion. You know, while we're on the subject, I actually have been meaning to make a video talking about jealousy, compersion, and the polyamory community's relationship with the two. See, while I am doing fine and good and great and fine at not feeling jealousy, it can be very challenging. And I think it's time that maybe we gave old jealousy just a little bit more of a chance. That's right, everybody. It's time for another terminology lesson with Mainely Mandy. This time about jealousy and compersion. Pew, 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 pew. Today's terminology lesson is brought to you by all of my wonderful Patreon supporters on patreon.com/mainlymandy. If you enjoyed today's video, then make sure to go over to patreon.com/mainlymandy so that you can support me every month and get access to some cool bonus features. Things like getting your names read in the credits or getting a personalized thank you card from myself and my cats. Are you jealous that you don't have a personalized thank you card from me and my cats? Then go to patreon.com/mainlymandy and fix that today. I'd be so good at commercials. But Mandy, I hear you all clamor. Why are you making a video about jealousy and compersion? Shouldn't we just be focused on the second one? Well, that's because this video isn't so much my attempt to define both of these words, and really more about me giving my hot little take about jealousy, wrapped up in some clever framing devices and, well, green lighting in this case. It's funny because in my script it says purple because it's usually purple, but I was trying to be clever. See, in the polyamory world, compersion is held up as the gold standard. It's sort of like this little carrot dangling above all of our heads, a reward that we're promised if we can just do non-monogamy perfectly. Communicate honestly, thoroughly, and conduct your relationships without expectations, and you too can experience compersion. I'm experiencing compersion right now, and it feels great. For only 4 small payments of $69.69, and it's understandable why, to a point. Jealousy is an emotion that most people don't enjoy experiencing. It's icky, gross, like a wet blanket on a cold day. Dr. Sanam Hafiz describes jealousy like this.
Jealousy is an overwhelming feeling or state of insecurity about inequity or potential loss. It can be resentment of someone enjoying advantage or success, or the fear of losing something or someone valuable to someone else. You may feel angry, confused, and anxious while you are jealous. You may also have a very strong feeling of resentment towards the person who has what you want.
Jealousy is a major reason that some people will not try non-monogamy. Just the mere hint that they might have to deal with that will have them running to the monogamous hills. So when you offer the possibility of not feeling that, of experiencing some kind of alternative, people get pretty excited about that. The problem is telling someone to not feel something isn't really productive. There are ways to safely express and healthily deal with jealousy, and we'll talk about that more later. But telling anyone, including yourself, to just not feel it is a pretty futile exercise. Trust me, I have had to learn this lesson more than a few times. Stop being in love with them, stop being in love with them, stop being in love with them, stop. Like, have you ever had an experience where somebody tells you don't be angry before they tell you something that fills you with nothing but rage? It's kind of like that. I think we're doing a bit of a disservice in treating an emotion like it feeling bad is what makes it bad to feel. There are times when a negative emotion is completely correct and justified. People get angry over injustices, enraged over the status quo killing the most vulnerable among us, so much so that they act out, organize, advocate for the changes that they feel are necessary. I don't know why I'm very Italian in this video. I'm very Italian. Grief is an entirely logical emotion. I mean, we might do things in the throes of grief that aren't, but being sad that someone in your life no longer is there is 100% understandable and natural to feel. You are going to need to feel that sadness, sometimes maybe even for the rest of your life. My hot take in this video is that jealousy isn't always a bad thing, and that we need to be really careful about being so dismissive of it and those who admit feeling it. Because if we make the mere act of feeling something shameful, we run the risk of people trying to suppress it, pushing it way down deep until it festers and grows and eventually explodes outward in very volatile ways. Jealousy, like all emotions, is a signal that might be helpful or it might not. Jealousy can be due to a lack of insecurity, a feeling as though your needs are not getting met. And yes, sometimes that insecurity is just some illogical gibberish that our brains have made up because, well, why does she get that and not me? But sometimes jealousy is actually bringing to our attention that our needs aren't getting met. Let's use an example. Your partner recently met somebody. They are just swimming in NRE, new relationship energy. They are just head over heels for this person. Not only do they talk about this person nigh constantly, they're also texting them at all hours of the day, constantly running off to go see them, maybe showing less of an interest in the relationship with you. Now, generally speaking, it's very understandable that this happens. I've seen it happen many a time myself. It's understandable that when we start a new connection of some kind, we tend to get really excited about it. We all are guilty at one time or another prioritizing a new relationship because it's exciting and fun and it fills our little bellies with butterflies. But if it starts to extend to neglect, maybe them canceling standing date nights with you so they can go hang out with this other person, or answering texts from them when it's supposed to be your time together, well, that's where a lot of people say it starts to cross the line for them. Jealousy felt in these moments may be a signal that your partner just isn't able to currently show the amount of care and attention that you need to maintain your relationship with them. Now, let's give a non-monogamous example, or a monogamous example. Your best friend just started working at a new company. She has made a new workplace friend, someone that she has lunch with every day. She is constantly talking about this new person, bringing up funny things that they said, bringing up interests about them, things like that. She even starts hanging out with this person outside of work. Maybe once or twice, she actually cancels plans that she has with you so she can hang out with this other person. Well, the type of relationship may be different. The way it makes us feel might not be all that dissimilar. You may feel jealous, upset that your friend is essentially abandoning your time together to hang out with some rando she just met. Even if you logically know that your friend still cares about you and this is just, another step in the natural progression of, getting situated in a new job and making new connections, it can still be really hurtful, especially if you're being abandoned for this new person during time that's meant to be for the two of you. It feels like being picked second. And nobody likes that feeling. In one of her blogs, Leanne of Philia compares the feeling of jealousy as being like going to a buffet when you're hungry, but not being able to eat anything because all the food is gone. Not only is it understandable to be upset, the food's all gone and you're hungry, of course you're pissed, but it also helps to better demonstrate the way that jealousy can be a signal that your needs aren't being met.
Different people require different amounts or types of food in polyamory. Your jealousy is healthy if it is genuinely warning you about something you need to address. Other times, it acts like an oversensitive fire alarm. Toxic jealousy in polyamory would be like being a vegetarian at a buffet and keeping everyone else from having the meat, even though you don't want or need it. Or having the entire buffet to yourself, even if it's too much food for you and the rest would just go to waste.
I hope I'm not banging this point over the head too much. I just want to make sure that we're all clear here that feeling jealousy is 100% okay. I think this is really important to talk about because, as I've actually demonstrated on this channel before, there are some people within our communities who weaponize our fear and distrust of jealousy against us, use it to distract and draw attention away from the ways that they might be treating you unfairly. In extreme cases, abusers will accuse victims of jealousy rather than acknowledge their own abusive behaviors. In that abuse video, I actually originally talked in much greater length about the way that More Than Two as a book was a bit frustrating to me because it paints jealousy as a solely internal issue and not something that can arise from the actions of other people, something we saw as part of a greater pattern in Franklin Vaugh's behavior. Consciously or not, polyamorous like Franklin Vaux have helped to normalize the narrative that jealousy is bad, and therefore feeling jealousy is bad. And in my opinion, that alone makes the statement extremely suspect. But if you want to understand fully why I feel that way about Franklin Vaux, you'd have to go watch that video. And again, it's not just within the polyamorous community that we see accusations of jealousy being weaponized. We see it when financially disadvantaged people complain about the frivolous way that wealthy individuals spend their money they earn, by the way, off of the labor of those same disadvantaged people. We see it when millennials tell older generations how much we are financially struggling right now, only to be told that we must be jealous of their success and would better be served by just pulling up our bootstraps and stop eating avocados. Oh, and we also see it when those same people bitch about the idea of future generations not being burdened with ridiculous amounts of loan debt, but apparently pointing out that jealousy is wrong, apparently. Being a bitch, being a bitch. In her excellent video, What's the Real Problem? Blackfishing or Black Women's Jealousy, Nora discusses the way that sometimes when Black women criticize the appropriation of their style, they're accused of being just jealous.
Black women only being angry at stuff because they're jealous of white women has been the cop-out of the last couple of decades. The cop-out, the kiss of reduction, the kiss of invalidation. This is the exact way people stage and paint Black women as just inherently jealous of white women for things that they simply cannot control. Rather than bringing truth to the matter, nuance to the matter, and saying that we may just be resentful of the structures, the biases, and the politics that allow white women's beauty to be appreciated without any obstacles.
The point being made here is that accusing someone of jealousy is a silencing tactic. In this case, one that holds up systems of oppression. Now, luckily, I think we've been seeing a pretty big shift in this, jealousy equals bad thinking in the polyamory world. Big influences within our community, the new guard replacing the old, have been discussing jealousy in much healthier ways, focusing on acknowledgement and moderation as opposed to invalidation. And I'm seeing much healthier discussions in the monogamous world as well. See, it's important to recognize that some of this mistrust around jealousy is that we grew up with certain attitudes within monogamous culture that can help to sort of normalize and foster it. Ideas like the one or scarcity dating mindsets help to create insecurity as well as just need to protect what you feel you own. Look how often we seem to normalize and even encourage women to not allow their boyfriends to have other women as friends. and vice versa. If you go back to some of the older blogs and stories from our polyam elders, you find a lot of stories about how it was generally encouraged to try to not activate jealousy, mainly by having agreements meant to protect the central or primary relationship. In a way, the jealousy is a bad thing that we have to mistrust, and if you're dealing with it, that's kind of your own problem and you shouldn't make it anyone else's problem, is a bit of an overreaction to these old ways of thinking and attitudes that we used to deal with. But we went too far in the other direction, and it's my hope that we can one day get to a place where we're better at acknowledging the nuance in these situations. So far, I've been mostly focused on jealousy in this video, but I do want to switch gears and now focus in on compersion for a bit. In the article, What is Compersion? A relationship coach defines compersion like this.
Sympathetic joy, or unselfish joy, where you are joyful for the other person for things that have nothing to do with you. You're just happy for them because they're in a good place, because they're experiencing joy, and you can sort of look at it from the outside and feel the same experience.
The term was coined in the 1980s in a polycommune in San Francisco, which is 100% exactly what I would have guessed if you asked me before. The concept is older though. One of the 4 pillars of Buddhism is called mudita, which translates into sympathetic joy. While the term was coined for use in the polyamorous community, I don't think the feeling is exclusive to us. For example, you can be excited for a friend for finally premiering their art in a gallery, or your sibling for graduating college. Neither of these accomplishments have anything to do with you. I mean, unless you modeled for your friend's art or you helped your siblings study. You're proud, you're warm and fuzzy, you're making little ah sounds. As I mentioned earlier, compersion is often held up as the ultimate goal of polyamory. Yes, collecting various hotties is also a huge bonus, but the idea of never being insecure and actually being happy when your partner's out with somebody, oh, so appealing. I touched my mic just now, didn't I? And my boobs. And because of how often it is talked about, I think that some people, particularly newcomers, can have a lot of pressure to also experience it. One time, when I was a child, myself and some fellow school children went on a little hiking excursion. Don't worry, we were supervised. This wasn't like a Lord of the Flies situation. During our hike, one of the kids claimed to see a doe standing off the trail in some trees down the way. Other children began exclaiming that they too could see the deer. In retrospect, it does seem highly unlikely that a wild doe would just stand docilely next to a very public and popular hiking trail while a bunch of tiny children scream and point their little grubby fingers at it, but anyway, real or not, I definitely could not see the deer, and I imagine that some of the other children couldn't as well. You bet your ass I said that I saw it, because I didn't want to be left out. I didn't want to be the one outsider to this group bonding experience, because I didn't want to go home and be the only kid who didn't have a cool doe sighting story to tell my mother. I was jealous that everyone saw a deer that I didn't, so I lied to seem cooler than I actually am. Something that no child ever has ever done before or since. I really do wonder how many people who claim to feel compersion actually don't, but do so because they feel this pressure, because they don't want to be left out. They don't want to be the one person missing out on this supposedly wonderful experience. Fear of missing out, or FOMO as it's commonly called, can be a huge motivating force. How many people in our community are pointing to where they think the deer is supposed to be, but honestly, we're just seeing trees? And yes, I am implying that some people who experience jealousy are jealous that they can't. Because of course they can. It's emotions, they're complex. They're just layers and layers to this. I'm not saying, by the way, that nobody experiences compersion. I'm sure many people do. For example, you could find out that a friend of yours is getting married and feel so much happiness that they're getting to have this experience. My point is more that in the polyamorous community, we demonize jealousy to such a degree that people are less likely to admit to feeling it. Also, caveat, so many caveats, caveat, so many caveats, caveat, so many caveats, caveat, boom, please don't cancel me. It's a really dumb song that I made up one time and I cannot stop singing it. You can feel jealousy and compersion at the same time. What? The example I just gave of being happy for a friend who's getting married, well, you could also experience jealousy for her at the same time. I emceed for a friend's wedding at the beginning of June, and while it was so much fun and a fantastic weekend, and my friend legitimately looked like a princess, I will admit, there were times when I did find myself feeling a little envious. I want to throw a big party where everyone has to pay attention to me. I want to look like a princess. Painting jealousy and compersion as opposites, hanging out on polar bits of the emotional spectrum, is doing a disservice. You can feel both, and both are completely natural. I think being more honest about this complexity, this nuance, will help us to be more accepting of these emotions and to find better ways to better express and manage them, whether on our own or with the assistance of others. I want to end this video with a few helpful tips on how to address, express, and moderate our jealousy in healthy ways. But before we do that, let's quickly just jump into this video's opportunity to act out. Right now, the city of Portland, Maine, currently has a poll set up online so that citizens can vote on how we're going to spend the millions of dollars of aid we received from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. For many reasons, I think food and shelter should be the priority that the city should be focusing on. As Preble Street Resource Center puts on their website,
the lack of supportive shelters and a shortage of affordable housing have created a crisis in Maine, forcing more people experiencing homelessness to go unsheltered, and sometimes life-threatening temperatures without a safe place to stay. Additionally, the rising costs of goods have left many individuals and families unable to put food on the table. Allocating some of these funds to 24/7 trauma-informed shelters and programs addressing food insecurity will save lives and strengthen our community.
The link to that poll will be in my description box down below. When asked which services within social services I wanted to see a focus on, I selected increasing housing options and services for unhoused individuals, as well as addressing food insecurity. Polling closes on August 19th, so there is plenty of time for you to go to the website and let the city of Portland know what you think that this money should be used for. It honestly only takes about a few minutes, and it probably took me slightly longer than that only because I was slightly, don't worry about it. I recognize not everyone in my audience is a Mainer, no one's perfect after all, but I did want to make sure to highlight this because it is important. By voting in this poll, you're letting officials here know in Portland where you think this money can go, and hopefully we can help the most vulnerable in our population. And now let's get you back to your regular scheduled Mandy. Okay, we are now at the more practical bit of the video. No more leftist video essayist monologuing. Mostly. I truly believe that all emotions are good and natural to feel. Acting on your feelings is where things can get a little more challenging. I imagine that some people watching this video have found themselves disagreeing with me, not because they're monsters who find emotions suspect, but because they have unfortunately been on the receiving end of some rather toxic behavior in the name of jealousy. For them, jealous action is synonymous with jealous feelings. And let me be 100% clear right here. I am not endorsing every and all action done in the name of jealousy. For example, if you decide to deal with your partner being into a new person by angrily coming up to them and saying, "You're neglecting me for this new person, you have to break up with them," or even taking it out on the new person themselves, pretty unhealthy, my dude. Same with throwing things or punching walls. Needing to go somewhere safe to express that anger in ways that, help you feel a bit better, 100% okay, but don't be doing that in front of your partner or around the new person. That's just kind of weird and shitty. This is a bit of my solo polyamory / relationship anarchy talking here, but I don't think the way to solve problems in our current relationships is to then try and manage the ones that we're not in. I don't think it's any of your business personally, and I also think it will create a lot of unnecessary hierarchy that will end up hurting someone, if not everybody, in the long run. A better way to handle an enamored partner would be to have a check-in. Be honest with them that you're not feeling very seen or heard in that moment and would like to find some solutions so that you still feel prioritized. Some people I know have special bonding rituals to help them feel connected afterwards. Things like prolonged silent cuddle sessions or a date where they can do a nice little recap. Some people find that adopting new agreements can help them to navigate jealousy. Things that do put some limitations on but are agreed by everyone. Things like don't ask, don't tell policies. DADT is essentially a policy in which you will not discuss your dates or your other relationships with your central partner. Technically, it doesn't have to be a central partner, but you almost always only hear about it in those kind of relationships. Personally, DADTs are not for me. Just the idea of me not telling a partner that I'm going on a date feels like a lie of omission to me, which personally, I just don't like the feeling of. I also don't like the idea of me potentially going out with my partner and then seeing another partner that I'm not allowed to like interact or maybe even acknowledge in any way. Like, I don't know, it just feels cruel to me. Also, as a queer person, the idea of adopting a policy named after the homophobic practice in the military that ruined lives for literally years just doesn't appeal to me. But that is just me personally. As with all things, don't ask, don't tells can exist on a bit of a spectrum. No two are exactly alike, and you know, power to them. Some people seem to make it work. I definitely recommend before having any conversation with a partner that you first take the time to sit down quietly with yourself and sort of suss out and explore those feelings. There are a couple ways you can do this, things like mindfulness exercises or journaling. I know I personally tend to really find writing all of my thoughts out, even if it's more of a stream of consciousness thing, to be extremely helpful. I also sometimes like to make lists of things that I can control versus things that I can't. For example, I can't control if a partner falls in love with another person. I can't even control if they might leave me one day. What I can control is how I act and show up in that relationship. I can choose how to act out on my feelings. I can also control communicating honestly with the people that I care about. Another interesting tactic that is suggested by Dedeker Winston from the Polyamory podcast is essentially to allow your imagination to soar and just kind of see where it takes you. Essentially allow yourself to catastrophize. So for example, what is it that you fear will happen if your friend makes a new connection at work? My friend will hang out with me as much.
And then?
She'll forget all about me.
And then?
I will no longer have her as a friend.
And then?
All of my friends will abandon me because they'll see that she did it and they'll think there must be something wrong with me.
And then?
I will die alone, an empty husk, unloved, forgotten, and discarded by a cold, uncaring universe, while everyone whose lives I was once a part of actually improve for the better for having gotten rid of me.
And then?
The point of this exercise is essentially to allow yourself to just see how ridiculous and far out there your imagination can go, allowing us to recognize that, you know, maybe this is an emotion that we don't necessarily need to do more than acknowledge and move on from. Certainly not worth restructuring an entire relationship over. I mean, sometimes I become horrified at the possibility that that urban myth about spiders crawling into your mouth at night is real, but I can't stay up every night diligently watching for 8-legged mouth invaders. Not anymore. If you're able to, I definitely recommend trying to find a polyamorous friendly therapist that you can talk these feelings out with, but obviously that's a tall order depending on your financial situation and where you live. Another really interesting suggestion I heard from the Polyamory podcast is when you're feeling jealousy, do something positive. This can create kind of like a Pavlovian response in our bodies where we find ourselves going, oh, I'm feeling that gross emotion again. But hey, now I get to do something nice for someone else. Doing nice things for people, not just partners, but friends, family members, mutual weirdos you met on Twitter, can be a nice distraction and also help to replace that negative, gross feeling that you have with something a bit cozier. Okay, I'm like literally so close to being done, but my green light just went off. So if this looks weird now, I'm sorry. I am hungry. I am so fucking hungry. We're just gonna live without the green light for a second. Everybody loves to be complimented. It can be a lot of fun to do. And also it is a great distraction from, you know, things. Just passing out compliments. Just passing out compliments. Everything's fine. This is totally helping. If you're on the receiving end of someone's jealousy, first of all, recognize that it might not really have anything to do with you personally. Even if you are someone who, say, is getting caught up in a new relationship, just because a partner experiences jealousy, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you're a bad person or anything like that. Be open to listening to your partner and talking things through, or giving them plenty of space so they can sit quietly for a bit. Make yourself the kind of person who is approachable and someone that your partner feels comfortable sharing these vulnerable emotions with. If you're asked to do things that don't feel comfortable to you, say that, be honest, and then see if there's alternate solutions that you can find together. Feel free to share this video with that person. Maybe there'll be a tip in here that is really helpful for them. Don't be the kind of person who weaponizes emotions against partners. Sometimes even just saying, "Thank you for sharing that with me," is all you have to say. Oh, and probably not something I have to say, but don't tell your partner that them feeling jealousy is a them problem and not something you should ever have to hear about or deal with in any way, because in theory, you're an empathetic human who should care about your partner, including when they have hard, difficult feelings. So, you know, don't say shit like that, or else I do kind of hope they break up with you. So real bad. Last but certainly not least, some people never feel compersion. And that is okay. It's okay if every time your partner goes on a date, whether with a new person or someone that they've been seeing for years, you feel jealous. Not feeling jealousy to excel at polyamory is no more true than needing to never be nervous to be good at live performance. I have been doing live performance since I was a child, and I get nervous on stage every single time. And that hasn't stopped me from doing it. For me, that fear doesn't feel good, but it's worth it to me because I remember every time what's on the other side. I remember the joy and the satisfaction that I get from doing it. And that makes it worth it to me. I hope you found this video about jealousy and compersion helpful. If you did, make sure to give this video a like and make sure that you are subscribed with the bell turned on. Tell me in the comments down below whether or not you've ever felt compersion and also what strategies you've developed to handle jealousy. And if you're able to give me a little money for my work, head over to patreon.com/mainlymandy and give me a monthly donation. Any little bit helps. Alternatively, I also do have Coffee, Venmo, and PayPal if a one-time donation is more your thing. No judgment from me. All of those links, as well as a link to the resource document that has all of my citations and such, if you would like to take a look at that research, will be available down in my description box. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
This video is brought to you by all of my Patreon supporters over on patreon.com/mainlymandy. A special thank you to Angela Ward, Adam Fellows, Austin Tallman, Bailey Grevlin, Beat Duck, Caelan Conrad, David Lindes, Elizabeth Hammond, Harker the Storyteller, Haley Williams, Jeffrey Reynolds, Kevin Cook, Non-Anonymous, Faye Briscoe, Thea Westfall, Polyamethyst, Sidekick, Sicknin, and Veronica Duff.